Right, greetings everybody and welcome to another video, and it's going to be a bit of a weird one because actually what I'm playing is my recording from a previous video where I ended up just playing, talking for 20 minutes with my microphone turned off, so ow. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about showing off Gilgamesh in terms of a setup, a test to see how good he is. And yeah, we're just going to be going through it. As you can see, I got to talk a little bit quickly. This team is basically one of the strongest arena teams that I have accessible right now, with 3 of the best characters in the game, very high on DPS. And on the right side, we have a very high version of DPS of just mono ice right now. I don't think there's too terribly much to say other than taking a look at this video, narrating myself. Sephiroth is brought in mainly because Sephiroth, I think, is a pretty good challenge and a counterbalance to how strong Gilgamesh is currently, which, boy oh boy, I do think that Gilgamesh is going to be a very, very top tier character at some point. Also, for whatever reason, my Howlet isn't equipped. I think something got reset on him. I don't think that was my fault, but if it is, whatever. We're not really worried about Howlet doing too terribly much damage. We're just bringing him along just because. And also, this team, I wanted to put Oldoa in because Oldoa and Gilgamesh is looking to be a very, very strong combination. Since I don't have Oldoa, just going to have to make do in this video and do what I can. So yeah. Anyway, we'll get into testing this right away. I am kind of just watching this on my actual screen here, just because. So let me move over here so it looks a little more natural. Yeah, so we're going to be applying just a lot of buffs at the very start here, and we would normally want to basically June, Sephiroth, and Ashen Mont's capabilities for generating AP, generating defense, and all of that. We want to get all of that running to see a little bit of what the DPS will be like for this character. We are going to be doing that with Sephiroth. We'll say that Wotv has also updated Trust Mastery, looking pretty good for a new version of Gilgamesh, just because it has Squall's most unique characteristic on a stick for 4 turns, which is total power creep. So if anybody wasn't sure before, Squall has been completely just on now in terms of like relevance at any point in the discussion. Anyway, taking a look at Gilgamesh here. Some of his abilities that we talked about previously, the follow-up hit on one of his abilities was not something I talked about in the previous video, but in the previous video, I was waiting to see a little bit and test it out, so that's what we're doing here. This ability that I just went over was his healing ability, which does grant haste. Velis here also has that kind of haste ability, but we're going to demonstrate it in just a second. And this one, AoE resistance, we now know is 25, whereas the HP barrier off of this ability is 7,500 towards physical, given that most of JP's meta is physical-based units right now dealing damage. His barrier is looking really, really solid. But anyway, so as you can see, the HP heal off of the sub-job ability, or his main job, is really quite a strong and powerful HP heal for a character with no HP healing whatsoever, but also does grant haste, which is pretty cool. The haste is only towards the caster Gilgamesh here, whereas Velis casts haste to both 2 characters, but doesn't generate a heal. So that's pretty amazing that Gilgamesh has that kind of potential healing power, similar to A2, but even stronger, and just grants haste, which is always good status effect. Anyway, we're just going to continue casting our buffs, getting all of that stuff ready. And now Gilgamesh, we're going to cast this ability, which gives his AoE resistance as well as HP barrier. It's going to be good for testing DPS against him. But it's also casting a secondary ability that we are going to be interested in running. taking a look at what damage is capable of, Gilgamesh's overall AoE resistance right now is 61 where in this team, where single target resistance is quite lower. So damage against him is pretty high. That makes sense given that this team is all offensive that he's facing. The team that I run is just kill him. Just basically kill him is the moral message. But what we are going to do, we are going to cast Velus's Limit Burst because we are interested in what will happen from Gilgamesh. So give it a second. We're looking at the damage that, of course, Velus is doing, which is pretty decent, all in all. But when we cast this ability, Gilgamesh will do his follow-up attack, which is pretty interesting. A couple of preemptive attacks hit against Velus, or one preemptive attack. But here, what you saw there was an example of how Gilgamesh's secondary hit works. It is very similar, or pretty much the same as Bart's. Bart's ability will fire off if another character attacks in close proximity to Bart's. Same thing with Gilgamesh, but Gilgamesh has two advantages. One, he's basing off a magic stat, which not every enemy is actually capable of preventing against. But Gilgamesh is also getting healing off of it, which is pretty interesting because it means Gilgamesh has a secondary source of healing on himself without ever having to worry about, another character healing him. Given that also this kind of ability was seen to be a bit almost broken on Bart's. It would have been broken if Bart's had been as strong as some of the newer characters have. I think that this is why Gilgamesh has essentially earned his tier 0 status, because this in combination with something like Doom or something like Ashen Mont, any other strong base physical character, you're getting a lot of extra DPS. And as saw with Bart's in the specific trial, well, yeah, that turned out to be an incredibly amazing thing because it essentially trivialized Miraga's challenge. Is very, very nuts. Here, from his Limit Burst, 53% chance of Frostbite is the thing that we're really looking at here. The damage is pretty good overall, given that we have run a good amount of buffs and everything. And these characters are essentially quite strong. Sephiroth showing a lot of resistance here, but you would kind of expect that for a fire character against a base character. So not too terribly much, I think, is wrong with what we are essentially looking at for DPS. But you can see that the Frostbite chance is just naturally 100% that it will actually activate on Ashen Mont. Pretty good. It cuts off Ashen Mont's AP restoration ability and also hits it a little bit, which he does get considerably weaker when he has all moved. June also pretty high chance of it activating. Sephiroth, who has a natural 5% chance of preventing it, is doing a lot here. And Sephiroth does have 51% ice resistance, which is essentially why we're kind of looking at it. It's not a negative here against Gilgamesh, mainly because I think Gilgamesh having such a strong counter, given that his capabilities could be seen as absolutely obscene in some cases, is probably really, really good that we are seeing already a character in the meta that is popular in the meta, since Gilgamesh could be really, really nasty in multiple avenues, multiple teams, multiple compositions. Could bring Helena back. It could bring Helena Vivi back in a big way. It could actually be absolutely disgusting in combination with June or Mont, given that there's a bunch of water ice and ice earth crossover in the game. It's worth noting. Other abilities are generally pretty strong. I think if we weren't running the Levitate ability for some of his other abilities that we've talked about previously, it'd be pretty good. But anyway, activating his 7,500 HP barrier, you can kind of get an idea for how good this ability is right now. Yes, 7,500 HP can get eaten away in a couple of attacks by high cost teams, but essentially getting a few free attacks from this is pretty good in most cases. Barrier or removal or anything like that, any kind of essential dispel effect for this will obviously get rid of it, but yeah, think it is really, really good. So overall, that was generally pretty much my findings for this. When taking a look at a different video from yesterday, which probably I wasn't going to talk about it originally, but now that I'm thinking about it, I actually might. Second to it. I'm just going to bring up a additional source of information, and we will use that to kind of close out this video and finish talking. Yeah, just checking. Source is gone. Excellent. All right, so showing off Peachin's video, Peachin ended up testing this team right. Where is it? This right now, which I would still consider to be very, very strong, maybe a little bit more fair than what I did, as Sephiroth is, his obvious counter, given the amount of healing that he can generate. Sephiroth's curse ability is just really, really good here. Here we're looking at A2 in combination with Old Doa and Gilgamesh, which is looking to be very good against Cloud, Joom, and Ashen Mont, in which, yeah, pretty good across the board. And here kind of shows a little bit of some of his percentage of just damage reduction, where the multiple cases that you have here of characters protecting characters and everything, and partnering and pairing off of each other, making each other stronger, you can see that Cloud's DPS drops considerably high, and Cloud is no slouch, still considered to be of the highest of tiers of how capable he is. And scrolling back just a little bit more to show this effect in very high reaction, because weakness resistance is something that is popping up as well. It does mean that debuffing these kind of characters is more difficult, but I do think this shows that while in my test we are capable of high damage to Gilgamesh, here there are setups that make him very, very defensive against some of the strongest characters. And in combination with that and healing, Sephiroth might be much more of a necessary evil to pre-balance the meta against this character, since a lot of the time this is something that we see in Wotv. We see this where a character, Wotv characters, FFE Wotv characters just end up being much stronger, and more meta shakeups than anything else end up being generally the ones to really watch out for. So yeah, I do think that it is pretty telling that this character can be in very, very high defensive comps. That he is looking so insanely strong right now is a good thing for people who are wanting a new character, this character and everything, but also that it's just good. So, as just a bit of fun for the end of this video, I'm just going to do a quick poll right here. We're going to see. I did got someone else to do my 1K yesterday, didn't get anything, but this is, Sora's birthday is coming up, so he would want us to, he's down by my feet. So that'll be basically it for this video. A little bit of a hodgepodge video because of some errors and issues with recording, but what you're going to do, I did want to get this out. Oh, it's going to stay brown. Nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty. But 100% hit chance, dispelling shell, AoE resistance, physical damage barrier, increasing AoE resistance, reduce physical damage and magical damage taken on allies around self. When automatically killed, regenerate CP and everything like that. And Blade Soul, as well as Spellblade, just giving him some alternate offensive options are pretty interesting. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's go through this a wee bit faster. I'm done. And that's all. Take care. See you later.